Text ya, won't settle for less. Bet ya that you won't forget. Text us, don't call our phone. Help us. We'll make it back home.
Hey, fam, and thanks for joining me today on Conversations with G. I'm your host, G, and we're doing things a little different today as I talk about loving yourself. For those that who watched the last episode where I spoke with our guest Jay, and we were talking about relationships with that special someone. And in that episode, I mentioned a time in my life where I was just learning to love myself again. And I, reached out to a few people to join me in this space to talk about those moments with them, whether it be a point in their life where they were disappointed in themselves, where you get to a point in your life where you are a little, down on yourself, disliking yourself, or even doubting yourself and things like that. And that happens for various reasons. And unfortunately, individuals were a little shy about coming on and sharing and speaking with me in this space. So I'm going to do things different and just talk about my experience. One point in my life where I got to that point, the one that I mentioned in the last episode about relationships, it was right before I got married, and I met my husband, and I was, you know, kind of lost. I was at that point where I was disappointed in a lot of the choices that I was making in my life at that time. I was disappointed in myself. I was disappointed in how my life was going at that time. I even got to the point at that particular moment where I disliked myself because of some of the choices that I was making. Um, and then I got to a moment where I had to do a little bit of self reflection, and that was a little hard. It's hard, it's self-reflection, being really honest with yourself, taking that step. I feel like everyone should, but it is a very hard moment in your life whenever you reach that point. And for me, it was hard. I was dealing with a lot of pain that I apparently never healed from, and we're talking pain from many, many moons ago, back to the point when I was a child. And I didn't even realize it until it hit me at that moment when I was doing that self reflection and really being honest with myself, right? So I literally grabbed the the mirror off the wall at that time, sat it down on the ground, sat right in front of it, and it was almost as if I was talking to myself, but really as if I was hearing it out of someone else's voice. And I got to unpacking. I got to unpacking quite a lot of stuff. And for someone like me who had a difficult past, and I mentioned that in the last episode of my relationship about relationships, I had a difficult past, and I had no idea that that difficult past, even though it happened many, many years ago when I was younger, much younger, a child, that those moments and those experiences in life that I went through, that I encountered, that I experienced, um, shaped me in a way to become who I was at that time. As I was growing up in my teens, I got into my 20s, into my 30s, and making certain decisions in my life, and just trying to figure things out, right? So that difficult past that I had played a huge role in how I was going through life. And I know that we all have things that happen to us, or we do things as we're younger, we're growing up. It may even be, something that may have been learned from our environment or who we were around at the time, and we pick things up or what have you. And I'm not necessarily talking about that. For me, my difficult past was more so on things that were done to me. Um, I I'll go ahead and share it. My difficult past that I'm talking about is going through sexual abuse. So going through sexual abuse as a child at the age of 4, at the age of 7, at the age of 9, and again at the age of 14. Um, and every encounter that I had at that point, when you're a child, you don't know, what's going on. It doesn't feel right, but you don't know what's going on and how to feel. You have all these emotions, all these feelings, and you don't know what's really going on. Um, but there's one moment I do believe is the key pivotal moment that um, embedded some negative thoughts about myself in my head that I apparently started to believe and I held on to from the age of 9. Um, I happened to be around, some family, my aunt and a friend of hers. I never met this woman before. And me and my sister and, a couple of other friends were just playing around. We came upstairs. Well, I came upstairs to get something to drink and I overheard, as you're a little kid, you may ear hustle a little bit. And I guess that's the reason why you shouldn't have kids around as you're having some adult conversations. But I came up to get something to drink, and I overheard my aunt speaking about that situation that I mentioned, the latest one that happened at the age of 9, and I was shocked in a way to hear how this woman, her friend, referred to that situation, and then looked at me um, as if to say, like, I brought that on. Well, look at the way she is. Look at the way she's smiling. Look at the way, what she has on. Um, Hearing that and the look of, that look that she had on her face and hearing those words, I didn't know at the time, and I didn't realize this until much later in life, but I did not realize that those words, not just what happened to me, but then the reaction of an adult, um, changed me, right? It changed me. And I no longer was able to hearing the negative thoughts of, oh, okay, it's me. I had something to play in that because I was smiling or I was giddy. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt or whatever as a 9-year-old girl. That I somehow, um, it was me that caused the unwanted sexual encounter with that person, with the older adult. And that did something to me. And I carried that around for so long. And I went from this vibrant, spunky little girl who loved playing around, loved smiling, loved singing and dancing, playing football. I love me some football. I'm a big tomboy as I am. Playing football, playing basketball, jump roping, just whatever, to now having that embedded in my head, this words from this woman, um, that it changed me. I no longer wanted to smile. I no longer wanted to have fun. I no longer wanted to be around people. I was very conscious about the way I looked. Again, 9, 10 years old and growing up, from that point on, this was embedded in me. Again, I didn't realize this until later in life. However, as I'm going through, through life and this is embedded in my head, I'm like, okay, the negative thoughts. It's me, it's your fault. You did this, you caused this unwanted behavior. It got a little rough on me. Um, I remember at a very young age, because I had those negative thoughts in my head and I didn't know like really how to process things. Of course, I went to counselors and psychiatrists and so forth and so on, to help me walk through that and get through healing from that, the actual act of the sexual abuse and not necessarily the words that were said, but because that's what it was. It was like, okay, I got through healing through the sexual abuse, but I apparently never got through healing through the negative thoughts and words that were embedded in my head where I started thinking of myself negatively. I wasn't this good person. I wasn't I deserved what happened to me. I initiated things. And so of course, here I am, 10 years old, 10 years old. I'm going through life. And um, I mentioned, at the age of 14. So at the age of 14 was another incident. And at that point, the words that I heard back then really just stuck with me, and it really just came out blaring in my ears. It's your fault. You wore a dress, or had this smile, or initiated somehow, some way, this uh, unwanted interaction with the person. And at that moment, I said, okay, I started changing. I forced myself to gain weight. And I thought, okay, I make myself just so unappealing to men that they will just see me. Oh, no one wants, no one will want to look at me because I will have all this extra weight on me. I'll be this little fat girl. I gained weight. I don't wear makeup anyway, but back then, the thing was throwing on a little lipstick and eyeliner, or maybe some, lashes or what have you. Didn't want to partake in that either. I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to be kind of behind the scenes. Now I went from this outgoing person to now I'm really shrinking back in, and I'm really holding a lot of stuff in and just trying to hide myself, basically, just hide myself from the world. Um, and as I got older teenagers and in my 20s and 30s, I realized that what I had went through at those young ages made me feel like I distrusted men, all men. I distrusted them. That's not to say, now again, remember I mentioned I was married, I had relationships. If you saw the last episode, you heard a little bit about that past when I got to the stage of dating and then being out there. And so I distrusted men, and I didn't want the idea of someone telling me or looking at me or making me feel like I had to sort of obey them, follow them around, or follow their rules or what have you. I became sort of like a rebel in that sense. So, and to some degree, as I'm talking about it now, I didn't as I'm talking about it now in the sense of when I went through the process of the self-reflection in the mirror, self-reflected, and I thought about that, and I realized, I was like, wow, wait a minute, that had an impact on me. And I treated men such as if I distrusted them. So I wasn't really even feeling like I was all the way in a committed relationship, in a sense of um, okay, I'm in this. I have one foot in, but I have one foot out also, because I'm going to be able to take care of myself just in case this thing goes south. That was apparently in the back of my mind always. And I wanted to run things. I was this headstrong female. I learned that from my mom and my older sister. May she rest in peace. And that's how I operated. And I went through that. All this time also, carrying around that negative thought and looking at men in a negative way, as if they're all bad. I can't trust any of them. Eventually I'll be in another situation or what have you. And that was rough. That was rough. Learning to forgive the people who harmed me in that way was something I felt like I needed to do. I needed to do it so that I can get this off of my shoulders, so I can get the monkey off my back, so I can get this dead weight that I've been carrying around for so long off of me. But not only forgive them, but also forgive myself for believing the negative words, the negative thoughts, the negative feelings that I had about, the situation that happened, the situations, multiple times, but the situations that happened, growing up, and then also forgiving myself for looking at all men and grouping them all together, in a way, and not fully trusting, and and also to a point where I got to a point, you probably heard me in the last episode, where I felt like, okay, when I talked about the having several friends, right? And knowing that even though, um, I may consider us just friends, that person is having some type of attachment with me. And as soon as they tell me they have got some type of emotional bond is forming, I very quickly, drop them like a like a hot potato, and realizing that I hurt somebody in that way, right? And I didn't like that about myself. I did not like the fact that I turned to alcohol and drugs. My drug of choice was alcohol and weed, to kind of keep me in this false reality, because there was just too much going on, that I too many negative things going on. Um, I could sit there and talk to other people on a constant, push them towards God, because they're worthy of His love. They're worthy of another chance. They're, you know, all these things that I tell people all the time, but I wasn't, you know. So I had to forgive myself for believing all of this stuff about me. And that was even hard. So I am in this mirror and I am going off on me. I'm fussing, I'm emotional, I'm snot and crying, just really just unpacking. Oh, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And pointing out all these things that I've done, that I've entertained, the people that I've hurt along the way, including myself, trying to just go through life in this, the two different realities that I had, because I was either, you know, um, high or lifted, buzzed off the drink. Um, and so that was hard. That moment there, it didn't last. It wasn't like a, okay, 5 minute, 10 minute conversation with myself. Wasn't a 30-minute, 1 hour conversation. That bad boy lasted for hours. I was on that floor fussing at myself and crying and just unpacking and just going for it. I want to say for at least 3.5 hours, maybe four. And it wore me out. I was so exhausted afterwards. However, I will say that going through that and just really being honest with myself, I could feel the weight of everything I had been carrying around for so long. Mind you, I'm at this point now, I'm already in my 30s, for so long, and it was a relief. And as that weight was coming off of my shoulders and off of my back and out of my chest, it was replaced with, I can only state it as God's love, as God's mercy, as His grace, as I could feel the warmth and I could feel Him just coming into my heart, and I can feel arms being wrapped around me, and the forgiveness and the mercy that He showed, and the revelations that were being, opened and shown to me at that time. From the time I was born up until that point in my 30s when I had that moment. And although I was exhausted, because going through that unpacking and self reflection and being honest with myself was very exhausting, when all of that weight came off of me and it being replaced with all of that actual love from our Father above, it was an amazing moment for me. And I was finally able to see myself fully in that mirror. My reflection, no longer did I shudder at it, no longer did it disgust me. No longer did I look at myself with disgust or anger or even a little bit of hatred at times, but I looked at myself lovingly. And so when I talk about a moment And it may maybe more than one time in someone's life. I have no idea. I know for me that was my moment. And it was freeing. It was exhausting, but it was amazing. It was freeing. And to be able to look at myself in the mirror, acknowledge that, hey, I am not perfect. Hey, I've made mistakes. Forgiving myself, forgiving others, I was able to actually smile, like honestly smile and to myself, at myself, and show myself just a little bit of love. And it grew day after day after day after day. And so when I say like loving yourself for me, it was hard. It was a moment, very heavy stuff that I dealt with, as well as um, some of the things that I've done to other people. Um, but it was a moment that I'm happy that I had. I'm happy that I had. And had I not had that moment, I have no idea where I would be at right now in my life. I love myself with my flaws and all. I love myself despite my flaws. I can look at myself and really love me. I can really look at myself and really be honest with me. That honesty never went away from since that day. It never went away. So I will sit there at times and check myself every once in a while if I feel like I'm getting out of pocket on something. Um, if I feel like I'm going back to a way that I said I didn't want to be anymore. I wanted better for myself. I wanted better options. I wanted my life to be better, and I knew that I had to. If I wanted better, then I needed to do better. And what did that look like for me? Now, of course, we all have different, stages as well as different moments and different things that we're dealing with. So it's not all going to look the same, and I get that. But for me, I was able to get to that point, and I am so grateful and thankful that I made it to that point and was able to push through that, and am now here, being able to talk about this to you all, and even whoever else wants to hear it if they're not watching the show. But openly, honestly, no holding back, just letting it go. And maybe, just maybe, someone who may be at this stage in their life, um, where they're just, you may be disappointed in yourself, you may be doubting yourself, you may have a little low self-esteem, you may dislike yourself. For me, that's how I dealt with it. I continue also, not only do I continue those, um, honest conversations with myself on a regular basis, check myself if I need to be checked, but I do still continue with therapy. I am a child of God, so I do still talk to God, listen to God. I read, I study the Bible, I reach out when I just feel like that rabbit hole is like I'm approaching it. I'm around the rim, especially if I'm around that rim, on a regular basis. And so if you are, feeling a little bit of that yourself, reach out to someone. Um, do that. Reach out to God. It just takes a moment to just stop and pause and just talk like how I'm doing right now, just talking honestly and openly to God, about your wants, about your needs, about what's going on, although He knows, but you need to say it specifically. Reach out to a therapist, whether it be through, your health insurance provider, whether it be through your employee assistance program, reach out to your church. If you are a member of a church, I'm sure they have some type of ministries there as well that you could reach out to a family member or a friend. Although with a family member or friend, it may be a biased approach. So if you are reaching out that way, make sure it's someone that can give you that unfiltered honesty that you'll want when you get to this moment, right? But, I get it. Things happen in life. things can happen to you, unknowingly. Um, we all just go through things in life, and I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Life is a big learning lesson, and we all go through moments in life that may not be exactly what we want or how we want it. Our plans for how we saw ourselves, when we were younger to moving, as we age, may have differed a little bit. And it's okay, because if you're still here, and you are, then you can't give up on yourself, because God hasn't given up on you. You know, get to that moment where you can smile at yourself again. Get to that moment where you can like yourself again. Get to that moment where you can love yourself again. But don't give up on yourself. I know moments can be hard at times, but like I said, if you ever feel like you're at that moment, then reach out. Reach out to somebody. Um, you can reach out to us here. I mean, I can probably, swing you some resources your way in your area, wherever you are. But, you know, just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Every moment that we have on this earth is, you want to sit there and live it to your fullest, and not sit there and just the what ifs, and those doubts, and then disliking yourself. You don't want to go through life that way. It's hard. I've been there, and I'm no longer there, and I'm encouraging those of you who are in that spot or feel like you're about to get to that spot. Reach out, take that moment to reach out for help. Take that moment to reach out to God. Take that moment to do that self-reflection. If you want better in your life, then you have to do better. And that's as simple as that. So anyway, well, that's my little spiel on loving yourself. You know, I thank you for taking the time to watch this episode with me, and encourage you again. If you want to sit there and have a conversation with me about whether it be this topic, or the relationships one that we did earlier, or another topic that we have yet to touch, reach out to me so we can make that happen. The information on how to contact us here is underneath, is at the bottom of the screen. And until next time, fam, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace and love. G.
Texture, won't settle for less. Betcha that you won't forget, Text us, don't call our phone, Help us